on WCWPSports.org.
Is sort of an interesting day because, well, so much has gone up, so much has gone down. Obviously, some things are not working correctly for some reason. The talk show is on. Like, we're on, right? Ace at the Plate, it's on. But we have this show. Watch this.
I'm starting a little book club. Would you like to come to my house for the book club? Well, this is Naomi.
So I don't know what's up with that. I will talk to them after this. So because it sort of interferes with our show a little bit. But we're on. We're here. And we are going to be talking about a lot of stuff. Doug is late. Let me tell you, this show must go on, right? We have Doug who's late, which is fine. Running into traffic. It gets bad around here, especially with the weather right now. Joe, unfortunately, our recurring guest, is not around today, which is fine. And then I had another guest to be planned on here today. They canceled on me. And then I had a guest to replace that guest, and they also canceled on me. So bear with me here because today is sort of a wacky day, and it was also the last day of classes. So, because now finals is coming, so that's going to be insane. But nevertheless, there's a lot to go over today. There's a lot of stuff to go today, and I know that with the Nationals, this is going to sort of be like another Mets episode where you have the big news today was, or it wasn't today, it was with the Nationals. But the thing about it is that they're the Mets competition, so all of their news is really Mets news. So I'm going to go right into it. You guys have heard about the trade that happened. Nationals gave away a lot of these top prospects for basically just Adam Eaton. In fact, only Adam Eaton. So it's very, very, very strange how they would make that deal. And I'll tell you why well, first of all, it's good news for Mets fans because I don't think it's a good move on the Nationals. And there was an overwhelming consensus that it was not a good deal. When you look around, when I asked around, not only Mets fans, but I would lurk on the Nationals Twitter, no one seemed happy about it. And I think it's good because I think that the Nationals overpaid for Adam Eaton. I'm not saying that Adam Eaton is a bad player. I'm just saying they gutted their farm system, and for what? They gutted their farm system for getting a center fielder. But here's the thing, right? You have Adam Eaton. He's put up okay numbers. He's on contract till 2020. But that's not the Nationals' need. The Nationals' need is their bats are fine. What they need is pitching relief, specifically a closer now that they lost Mark McClennan. I can't remember all of the prospect names, so I'm trying to find the thing on Twitter as I speak here to sort of see what's going on. But I know that they were just top prospects in the organization. And with that haul that you gave, they almost landed Chris Sale with it, but they literally did not have enough prospects. The Red Sox really offered them so much that it would be stupid for the White Sox not to take that offer. So the Nationals missed out yet again, as they sort of are becoming known to be doing. They're sort of a joke of an organization. I know I don't like them, but that's just crazy how so many people didn't like the trade. So many people are just they're sort of connecting the dots. I mean, I've been connecting it because I've been following it, but all of these years, the Nationals have offered high amounts of money, more amounts of money to players, and players just take less to play other places. Basically, they take less to play elsewhere, which is sort of crazy. Really, really crazy. Again, I'm trying to find this deal. Why is this thing so hidden? But it's just crazy because the Nationals have just swung and a miss. Hang on, I'm going to go look at this deal now. Adam Eaton. I'm sure I'm going to find it if I actually just search his name on Twitter. So, let's see what the actual trade was so I know. Nationals offered Giolito, Robles, Dunning. Okay. So they didn't give away Robles, but they gave away Giolito, Lopez, and Dunning for Adam Eaton. So that pretty much tells me that they just gutted their farm. Like, simple as that. Those prospects were basically the bread and butter of their organization, and they basically just gutted the farm. They gutted the future. And for a team that's looking to move on from Bryce Harper, that's strange to me. Because if you're going to move on from Bryce Harper, who the team has had talks with them, and the talks haven't gone well. They have not gotten along. They sort of laughed in their face a little bit, which was strange. Like, they sort of laughed in his face. Bryce Harper, he walked in, he wanted 10 years, $400 million, and they just they weren't having it. And there was reports that the Nationals were already looking to move on from Harper after the 2 years are up. So you have that, and that is just a huge, huge, huge problem for the Nationals because, okay, you're going to lose an MVP-type player, and listen, I think he's overrated, but he put up really good numbers 2 years ago, and we'll see. In 2 years things could change. But right now, if the fans were worried about Bryce Harper, they would at least be able to reassure them that they have some amazing prospects in their organization, and now they're gone for Adam Eaton. Again, they didn't really need Adam Eaton, so it's just so strange. It's ridiculous, honestly, and I'm happy, right? It was a good time to be a Met fan, actually, because of this stuff. Because of all the stuff that happened this weekend with all the trades, all the things. And that's not all with the Nationals. Really quick, though, I want to see, because my board, right, is sort of acting up, so I want to see if the thing is still talking. I have Doug coming in, but let me just see something really quick, guys. Yeah, so that talk show just ended late, and it ended in our time. I muted it. Doug just walked in. I'm just letting you know. It was playing, the talk thing. Not while I was talking. I turned it off, but they were still talking, and it sort of came into our time slot, so hopefully they don't do that again. It didn't interfere with anything I was saying. In fact, it's great that you just came on, because I just sort of was talking about the trade, on how the Nationals traded that big haul. I read off the prospect list, and I was talking about how during the trade talks with Bryce Harper, not the trade talks, during the contract talks with Bryce Harper, reporters were actually reporting that the Nationals were just going to move on from Bryce if that was going to be his price. And I was going to say, if you wanted to tell Nationals fans, look, you have a case to sell to move on from him. If, let's just say, in 2 years, that's a lot of time. Things could change. But right now, for what he's asking, I would just say, look at the prospects in our organization. We are going to have a smooth transition eventually. But now those prospects, they're gutted. The organization, their future is now gone. They would have to start rebuilding. Basically, again, if they do end up moving from Bryce Harper, it's a big thing. But the main part about this is that they got Adam Eaton, who is not necessarily a bad offensive player. It's just that that's not their problem. They have fine offense. Maybe they got him to balance out the departure of Wilson Ramos. But then again, I mean, still, it just doesn't seem like it was smart to gut their farm on that guy if they were going to do it at all. Could have gotten either a much more impactful bat or, more importantly, a reliever, which that team really needs. And we have more news on that, but I want to get Doug. What was your take on the trade? Oh, your mic's not on. There you go.
No, it's all good. My take on the trade, it was just an interesting haul that they had to give up, considering that they were previously in talks with Chris Sale. And these were the prospects that were being discussed for that. And Chris Sale is one thing. That's like one of the top 5 pitchers in the whole entire game. And you're going to have him for 2 years of contractual control, which, as you were just alluding to, with Bryce Harper, and they have a year, like they've got about 2 to 3 years right now to try to get that World Series ring. And to see that they're trying to give it up for Adam Eaton, who in no way is he not a good player.
It's
I mean,
not
he's
that
a solid
bad
player. Like,
he hits for average.
no, he
Listen,
hits for average.
he hits
He's
better
13 home runs, 13 steals.
He's better than Jay Bruce. I'll tell you that right now.
You know, I would take him over Jay
I
Bruce.
take
Not
him
gonna
over
lie.
Jay Bruce, but go ahead.
But for him, Adam Eaton, I mean, it's 5 years of control, so I guess they want to have that
They wanted
stability
to
in
have
center.
that. I think that
and when
played
you have
big.
Jason Worth coming off the books at the same time that you have Harper coming off, they just want to make sure that they have one position where it's like locked down and steady, so you don't have to be worried about it. But with Chris Sale, like if you get Chris Sale, you're already bolstering one of the better rotations in all of baseball.
And that's a different story. But they got Adam Eaton. It wasn't for a starting pitcher. Even a starting pitcher would be a little questionable. I know you could never have enough, but it's like they already are stacked. That team, you look at it, and they needed relief, and they don't have relief.
That's why I'm shocked that they didn't ask for David Robertson, the closer of the White Sox. You know,
that's the thing. There's so many things they could have done, and if they really were committed on getting a bat, and they wanted to, I mean, they wanted to go for Chris Sale for 2 years, right? He had 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years left.
So I mean, you could have gotten, the Pirates thought they had a deal done. They thought that like in the morning they were just going to make it official. The Pirates from McCutchen.
With the Nationals. The
Pirates thought that this was going to be the McCutchen trade, and they were going to do it. It was going to be like, we're going to get it done tomorrow or something, and then something happened. So that changed the tide, and the quote on one of these people, one of the reporters was like, the Pirate GM was stunned of the news. He had no idea that those prospects, he genuinely thought he was going to trade McCutchen for those guys. He really thought, and everyone thought that too.
Well, I think it wasn't that the Nationals weren't willing to give up Lopez, who they view as a higher ceiling prospect, even though Lucas Giolito has been ranked by Baseball Prospectus as the #1 pitching prospect this past season. But there's something that the Nationals just did not feel right with the guy. I mean, we saw him in a little sprint run in the major leagues at the end of last year, and the kid was just not that good. I mean, like, he's got a big arm, don't get me wrong, but there's just something that's not translating. And I'm wondering, we were talking about this before, I'm wondering if there's something that's going on with organization on the inside, underneath the hood.
This is the thing, and this is sort of going to be like I said earlier before you came in, this is going to be sort of like a Nationals episode, because I actually have a lot of stuff on the Nats and a lot of stuff happened with the Nationals this weekend. This was last weekend or this weekend, it was like their weekend of disappointment and failures in a way. And, you know, again, I think that it's organizationally. But before I get into that, I want to sort of transition, and this is going to still relate to the Nationals, which is why I'm going to bring it up, is that they literally just lost out on Jansen, who is a reliever for the Dodgers, and they offered more money again. It was reported they offered more money than what the Dodgers offered. Dodgers, I think they got him 5 years, $82 million. Nationals offered more, yet it was reported two things. One, he doesn't like change. And two, he's really good friends with Justin Turner, who also just re-upped, and he was even at Justin Turner's wedding.
Really?
So, and they were probably talking about, let's just try and get some shit done with Dodgers and like stick together. You know? Yeah. So it's so weird. I get it. There are some other things in the way, but I'm going to bring up a list of names. Jason Hayward, Yoenis Cespedes. There were other guys who they've tried to get.
Melanson, they tried to get him before the Giants took him away. Then also Chapman, they were like reported to be trying to get in on.
There were people that offered more and just did not take it, and that's just crazy. And it's just like there's something going on. I don't know if it's. I think I know what it is. But it's either one, it's like the location. I don't know. I don't know if it's attractive for some people, but I really think it's just how the organization is run. And let me sort of go into that. I just think that 2015 sort of exposed them. It's exposed in a way. I know that's 2 years ago now, but I still think it applies because all the trash talk that the team talks, like it doesn't look professional. It's not classy. They talk a lot of smack from up with Rizzo, from all the way up to the bottom, to the Twitter PR guy, to the players. There's just a lot of classless trash being talked. And it's just like, and then like all these they make these comments and they blow up in their face every time. Remember? We have enough prospects to get both Chris Sale and Andrew McCutchen. They're not going to walk away with either one of them. And then now they just get made fun of for it. So it's just the way they're run, I think, also contributes. I think it's just the clubhouse atmosphere. I think it's just I just don't like how they're run. That's why I dislike the team. Not only because they're a rival, but I just don't think the organization is run correctly. There's a lot of misorganization, it seems, especially in 2015. That whole thing was exposed. I mean, it was just unbearable. And to me, I hate the franchise. It's a joke of a franchise. Their fans don't help. I mean, like, oh, you don't like other players' franchises fans or whatever, but I mean, these guys on Twitter are just disgusting trolls. I mean, literally, it's just I don't know. We got about 30 seconds in this segment left, so I don't want to expand into new discussion, but I do want to preview what we're going to talk about next, which is the trade of Espinoza also, which showed again, while I'm bringing this up, the flaws in the Nationals clubhouse and organization. Because, I mean, I'm going to bring it up because we got 10 seconds, but I'm just saying you stay tuned because it just shows how much of a mess the Nationals are. They've never won anything. They never will. Screw them. Come back to us.
So who's Irv and what does he do? Grab the kids or grandkids and experience Sing Along with Irv, a fun and interactive song event. It's on Thursday, January 5th at 2 p.m. in the Bayville Free Library. For more info, call 516-628-2765 or contact Ashley L. Sweeting at gmail.com. The community calendar is a public service from your friends at 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
Alana here, inviting you to check out the Rockin' Sunday Morning Show every Sunday morning from 10 a.m. till noon. You'll hear 2 great hours of classics from the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. I've got Whitney Houston, Night Ranger, and everything in between. There's even a Beatles block. The Rockin' Sunday Morning Show. Sunday mornings from 10 a.m. till noon, only on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
If you belong to a nonprofit organization, this space could be yours. Your friends at WCWP are here to help you spread the word about an upcoming event or the mission of your organization. Reach the local community right here on the North Shore of Nassau and an online audience all over the world. Email us at info@wcwp.org or send your info to 720 Northern Boulevard, Brookville, New York, 11548. A message from your friends at 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. You're listening to Ace at the Plate.
So we briefly talked about it, and it's to me insanely interesting. The Danny Espinoza, you know him. He had a crazy mustache for a while. He played a bunch of positions for the Nationals, and he was sort of in exile in a way when Trey Turner came up. He was sort of out, didn't find his place in the lineup. He wasn't hitting well. He batted like .219. But here's the news that happened. He was traded to the Angels, which, I guess good luck. I don't know. I don't think it was anything significant. I just think they were willing to get him away because literally they have this thing. All these teams have these festivals, these things where they get together over the winter.
Charity events.
They get together over the winter. They all the fans come together, meet the players, have fun. It's a good time. Every organization usually has it. And it was funny because Espinoza was like, I'm just not going to go. I'm not happy with where the team is. I'm not happy with my role on the team. He wanted to play more. And obviously with these acquisitions, he's not going to play much. And then literally he was traded like right after he said that. He was traded like, I don't know if it was a day or a few hours after he said that.
Yeah, it was like within 24 hours.
They were quick to get him out of town. And I don't know if that was planned before, but it seems a little too coincidental how he was just sort of shipped that fast, especially with the team being in this, they're gaining a little bit of a reputation of having trouble in the clubhouse and having trouble signing free agents. It seems like free agents are not willing to go to Washington. Oh, they also played. I forgot this. I just remembered they also paid more than the Cubs for Zobrist, I believe, but it just ended up being a different thing. So. But what do you think about that? What do you think about Espinoza? He wasn't...
Well, Espinoza, I mean, he had 209 in batting average, but he did hit 23 home runs, so I guess there could be some value there. He's very decent on defense, but my feeling is that possibly the Nationals were kicking the tires with the Angels just in case. They always talk about ideas, and they always have it on the back burner.
Yeah.
In this case,
yeah.
when you get Adam Eaton, then it makes Trey Turner increase his value and also their defensive abilities behind their pitchers to have him move over as shortstop. I'm more like interested in the fact that it's like they talk about like Adam Eaton being like a top of the order guy. It's like I've always seen him as like a leadoff hitter, even from his days when he was on the Arizona Diamondbacks, then to the White Sox. And I don't know, it's kind of puzzling that they would go that route because like Andrew McCutchen at least made a little bit more sense because he can develop more power. And they could be like lower down the lineup. And yes, he would probably more than replace Wilson Ramos. So I don't know. I'm scratching my head here and like looking at what they've done here. Because like Lucas Giolito is like one of the top in the game. Reynaldo Lopez, he throws triple digits with his fastball, and he's like I think that he's going to be an above average major league starter. And if not, he can be a high like leverage like late inning reliever. I'm just shocked as we keep mentioning about. They didn't go for any relievers. They lost on Kenley Jansen, and I'm surprised
I guess that was their backup plan. Let's just throw money at Kenley Jansen.
I mean, I feel like it's like that was like plan A was Melanson, then plan B was like Kenley Jansen, or at least plan C. And then David Robertson, I thought that they would be able to pry him and Adam Eaton away for this. But I guess it's because Adam Eaton has about 5 years of controllability at a very, very reasonable cost. I think it's like 5 years, like $40 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And if you look at that, you compare that to Dexter Fowler just signing for 5 years, $90 million with the Cardinals. So I guess it's like the cost of it all for them in their mind's eye was, do we offer up prospects or do we care about the dollars down the road?
You know, it's just weird with the Nationals, and I want to even bring up more insight on the Nationals. It's crazy how there's so much insight, but I have this on my phone. You know, they were talking to the Rangers before they did the Adam Eaton trade, and let me tell you this. Ken Rosenthal reported today. Nationals discussed Profar. I don't know if you know who Profar is. He's
Jurickson Profar?
Yeah, he was a former future Met. In a way. People were talking about him in trade talks all the time. He was sort of an injury-prone prospect, but one of the top prospects. Before trading for Eaton, Nationals discussed Profar with Rangers with the idea of playing him at shortstop, which Profar is a shortstop, and keeping Turner in center field. So I guess those talks fell apart, and then they went with the Eaton thing.
Yeah.
Even then, though, it's still not... that trade wouldn't be as bad because Profar is very young. However, it's not a reliever, and again, I can't believe how many people turn down money to play for the Nationals because and quote me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like it's happening more and more in baseball. Where I know today with all it's so inflated.
Oh yeah, the cost for free agents.
It's so ridiculous. But I'll tell you this. A lot of the money, there's just so much money that they just don't care. They'd rather make the most. They'd rather enjoy it the most. And it's not like they're losing out on that much more money, and it's not like they're that much less secure. So I feel like it's so inflated that players just sort of now lean to where they would be more happy to play. And I'll tell you right now, Reyes could be one person that could tell you. He was the one that convinced Cespedes to stay, and he wasn't really happy anywhere else till he went full circle. But what do you think about that? Because now you have Jansen doing it. You had what's his frickin' name? Jason Hayward. He did it. He took less. I think Zobrist took less.
No, that's a fantastic point. I completely agree with it. I mean, I was trying to spin my wheels on this one.
Took less.
Well, yeah, because like these guys, I guess it's because what's the difference? You're going to be making $15 million, or you're looking for like $17 million. I mean, when you're already up there, and like for the layman's term, that's a crap ton of money.
Yeah,
but for these guys, it's more of just like, you know what, I want to be secure. So it's like they're willing to forego those extra millions for the years of security, or having something like a no trade clause, which is why Yoenis, I think, find it even more attractive coming back to the Mets. Is that, okay, I know for a fact that I'm going to be staying here for the next 4 years.
It's crazy to me how all this stuff happens. And again, Joel Sherman reported today that, yes, the Nationals stayed in the mix for Jansen until the end. He took less money. Now, perhaps they're going to try for Robinson, Holland, or Colum. I've never heard of Colum.
Alex Colum, he was the reliever for the Tampa Bay Rays. So he had 37 saves and I think a 1.93 ERA. The guy was really elite.
Speaking about Holland, there was news about Holland, actually, I saw on Twitter. He wants to close. That's it. He wants to close.
Wait, Derek Holland?
Yes, he wants to close.
Huh. Was he? I think he was a closer actually for his first 2
Says
years.
he doesn't
or was
want
it
to
him
go
or
in.
Colby
Again,
Lewis?
he's
I'm
just
trying to
been
remember.
out for a while. He says he doesn't want to go in a setup. He wants to close. So if someone gives him the
Really?
closing
I mean,
deal-
he's been a pretty decent starting pitcher. I mean, he's just been getting more injured, but that's.
he's a reliever, right? He's that reliever
No,
from
Derek.
the Royals.
Wait, no, Greg Holland. Greg Holland.
Oh my
Greg.
gosh, they got the same name.
Sorry,
I don't know.
no, Greg Holland's the one for the Royals who had Tommy John surgery and has
I
been
think
coming
is
back.
it Greg? I don't
No,
even
his
know
Greg
anymore.
and Derek Holland was the one in the Rangers that I was thinking about because I'm
Derek
pretty sure he
Holland
hasn't
is
signed with
a
him.
starter or
Derek Holland's the starter. Greg
Okay.
Holland was the one from
Yeah, Greg
2012
Holland
to
wants
2014
Greg
was
Holland
elite.
wants to close. So I get that's who I assume they're going for because. Okay,
But
hang
even
on,
then,
hang
I
on.
hope
we
they
have
do.
breaking news, sort of. It's not really Mets news, but it's breaking. So we're talking about inflated contracts. This one isn't too inflated, to be honest. But Justin Turner with the Dodgers. So it's going to be 4 years, $64 million. So I don't know what you think about that. Former Met.
Seems about, former Met, which
Former
is
Met,
crushing. But it's
and it did not end in the relationship was not good between both sides.
yeah, because the Mets just treat him like trash. They're like,
It
no,
was
there's no way
ridiculous,
this guy.
And I'm sort of happy for him, to be honest.
I am
I'm
too.
happy
Like,
for
you know what? He's a grinder. He's a guy
Good
that's
guy.
always
He seems
tried
like,
his
He seems
hardest.
like he's tried his hardest, and it's paid off because now he's getting paid. He was a really good third baseman, and
You can play
props to
second
him.
base. You can play first base. The
Props
guy's
to
got.
him.
He's a Swiss Army knife. out there.
literally props to him. So I mean, that's his payday. And could I just say the Chapman, the Jansen, those deals right there, I think, honestly, in my mind, if I was a GM, I think they're a ripoff. I think I wouldn't even pay it.
Wait for Jansen. Jansen is the only one where I think it's because Jansen. The problem with the Royals Chapman is that you've got to be wondering like when is his arm going to snap off? Because when you're consistently throwing triple digits and then you're doing it in the World Series for like back-to-back days, 37 pitches to 50 pitches, that right there is raising red flags.
And I still don't think so. And this is going to sound really sort of ignorant, I guess. But for me, and you know me, pitching is great. I love to have the starting pitching. I personally think relievers are a dime a dozen. I know that sounds crazy, but I just think they are. You could get anybody on the minimum contract to throw the ball and have decent stuff and close the game. In my opinion, of course there are those few guys, but I just think some of these relievers are getting a huge payday for what? I mean, in my opinion, they've saved a lot, but I just feel like there's a guy in AAA throwing 100 right now, or he's throwing 90. You don't need to throw 100 to do good as the closer. You just need to get 3 outs, no matter what. So, in my opinion, I really think relievers are overpaid a lot. Well, not the ones like these guys. I think. Are
well, the
overpaid.
market. No, this is the year where it completely went out of control because
I think
like
it's ridiculous.
the previous high was Jonathan Papelbon, which was like 4 years, like $40-something million.
I wouldn't
50.
do that.
Then Melanson stepped up, and then he got the record, which was 4 years, $62 million. But I think this is all a reaction to how the playoffs have been going for the past couple of years because we've seen a seismic shift since
here's the thing.
2014 where the relievers have been the ones to carry these teams and be the ones that make it.
Right? All the starting pitching is so good that it turns into whichever starter is knocked out of the game first. That's probably going to be the team that loses, and that happened in the Mets wildcard game. And like I said, my opinion, Noah Syndergaard pitched way better than Bumgarner. It's just that Bumgarner was more durable. Bumgarner stayed in there longer because the Mets couldn't touch him for longer. That basically was it. So for me, relieving, it's an important thing. I'm not trying to downplay it. I just think those contracts are absolutely absurd. And I would there are some good relievers that came up with the Mets this year that are nobodies, but they got the job done. I'll give you a few examples. I mean, Hanso Robles, like, who is this guy? I thought he did a good job.
He did a great job.
I thought
great
he did
job.
a good job.
He started falling off a little bit at the end because of the longevity.
I know he had some rough parts, but that guy's probably making league minimum. There was a point when he was doing really well. Remember there was like a streak where he was really pitching well. He was saving games for the Mets. It was amazing. And there are other guys, dude. I'm telling you, man. I think personally, I know that catching is the easiest way to get to the majors, but if you could pitch, I bet you if you're a reliever, you get to the majors pretty quick because there's so many of you, and they're so important, like you said. Yeah. But I just think they're a dime a dozen. I don't think spending that much.
Well, the rule of thumb with relievers is that they come from either Kenley Jansen, for instance, was a catcher, but then he kind of sucked at catching and hitting. So they're like, oh, wait, you got a cannon of an arm. Why don't you become a reliever? The majority of relievers are starting pitchers who fizzle out because they only have 1 to 2 pitches and they cannot make it through a batting order more than once. And so that's why you can't like expose their flaws or break them down quicker.
Yeah.
So that's why we have them dime a dozen, is that it's basically everyone who wants to become one of these 5 spots in the starting rotation for these 32 teams then becomes
Relievers.
or no 30 teams, and then the next thing you know is that they become relievers.
And I'm not saying relievers, again, I don't want to say they're bad. They're an insanely important role. Make the difference between a win in the World Series and a loss in the World Series. I'm dead serious. There's just so many of them.
I mean, without Chapman, do
and
the
there's
Cubs
so
win the
many
World
good
Series?
ones. It's
No.
not like that there's so many of them and they're bad. There's a lot of good ones probably sitting there in AAA. I'll give you one example. Josh Smoker had a great. He was here very briefly, but remember he closed that one game in Atlanta.
That's true,
Great
but
job.
he was supposed to be. He was actually a top prospect
I
at
know,
one point.
I
He was
know.
supposed to be a
Dude, I've
starter.
been
and they came
following
back-
him. I wanted him up last
Just
year.
smoked
I
me.
wanted him up 2 years ago. I wanted him up 2 years ago. I'm glad he finally got called up. It's about time. But there are guys, I just don't feel like you should be. I mean, $82 million. I'm sorry. I'm saying no. I'm letting you. No matter how good you are, I'm letting you walk. I think I could find somebody else that could fill your shoes. All right, because at the end of the day, you just have to get 3 outs. And I know that's something we could just talk about. Like Jerry's Familia can't do it, but I mean, it's just like. Get 3 outs. You don't have to be throwing 105 miles an hour and get that $82 million contract. Find somebody who would do it for $1 million and is in my AAA system.
Well, the problem is that like even if we get these guys, like as I alluded to before, it's about the cost versus the prospects. So for teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees, who respectively signed Kenley Jansen and enrolled as Chapman, it's not that big of a deal to be spending this amount of money, especially with the Yankees when they have such a young crop of kids that they're playing basically league minimum. For them, they're like, wow, we're getting discount over the next couple years because we don't have any people.
That's true. That is true. That make a great point. And here's the thing. And maybe I'm just so used to being the cheapo Met fan.
With the coupons?
And I mean, I still think, listen, it's never about spending all this money. It's about spending it wisely.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not, especially, I get it, like Jansen maybe, I still wouldn't do it. But Chapman, no way with that on. No way. And they spent that much. It's not about spending money. It's about spending it wisely. And the number one team that could tell you that is the Dodgers, because they are going to have a $220 million payroll
That's
this year.
absurd. That's
and guess
absurd.
what? They have not gotten past the championship series. It's simple as that. So money doesn't buy you championships. It's just having the right prospects at the right time. And also, I mean, money helps, right? Money helps you address needs, but you can't just build the team on cash. It never ends up working. Ask the Padres 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Diamondbacks, they spent a load of cash this year. Zach Greinke.
And then what they get, like 69 wins? Like,
So, it's just. To me, I don't know. It's crazy. And, but speaking about Mets payroll, did you hear that the Mets are not going to – and I really am not really objecting to this. I'm not even that mad because the Mets have Cespedes. Like, that's how much of this offseason is the thing. The Mets do not want to take on any more money until they trade Jay Bruce. What do you think about that?
that's understandable.
Yeah, I
that's
think
very
that's
understandable because that's
I'm
like
not
a
upset
13
about it.
yeah, it's like $13 million.
They don't want to add, like, because, and this is Sandy's analogy. He said it at the winter meetings. You don't want to buy a new house when you still have the old one. It's sort of like, you got to get rid of this guy because that money could be used to free up other things to spend. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to be the Dodgers. We don't want to be insanely cheap, but I just don't think it's reasonable to keep all these outfielders by the end. And by the way, it's great that Jansen and Chapman signed and all those other guys because that just frees up the market. Now more guys are going to start getting their contracts, and hopefully once Bautista and Encarnacion meet their fates wherever they go, then maybe a team that gets desperate goes, there's a guy on the Mets, they really want to get rid of him. He'll hit 30 home runs. I mean, he's cheap. I mean, what do you say? That seems like a good thing. It's just that I don't see teams moving on him yet because, again, of Encarnacion and Bautista, who, by the way, I'm predicting I feel like Encarnacion is obviously better than Bautista. I think Bautista, whichever team makes him up for a lot of money, is gonna regret it. I really think.
But I don't know if they actually will, because I think how the market's shaking out, it's going to be kind of like Yoenis last year for both of these guys.
That's what I think. You know what I think? I think now with both these guys, you haven't signed by now. They're going to do they might do the Cespedes because it paid off for Cespedes. And even with Cespedes, even when he did it, dude, there wasn't much market. There weren't a lot of teams on him. It was the Giants, the Mets,
Nationals,
fucking-
yeah.
oops, sorry for swearing on air, but the Nationals. Those were like the only three teams. The Dodgers were in for a while, but they were like, nah. A bunch of other teams balked. So
Yeah.
isn't that just strange that you want to know what it is? They just, and they're stupid. They're idiots. If that GM, I'm just saying, it's ridiculous. You guys are ridiculous. Posh. You're so out of touch with reality. All they have to hear is, well, he's a little bit of a prima donna.
Yeah.
Problem in the clubhouse. The guy's a legend in the clubhouse.
Yeah, in the clubhouse, the guy
guy's
is a
been
big
a
swinger.
legend in the clubhouse. Then they go, oh, he's lazy. All right, he doesn't run out a few ground balls. I get it. That's frowned upon. But tell me this. A guy who doesn't try hard, a guy who's lazy, I have such respect. That quad was banged up last year, man. Ever
He was
since
hobbling.
dove until the seats. And he could have not played, but he wanted to play. He insisted he played. If that's not a guy that doesn't go hard and try and give the team it all, I don't know what it is. And like I mention this all the time, Matthew Cerrone with his, this was at the point where we didn't know if he was going to come back. And he was like, it's not the end of the world. I mean, he was sort of lazy. He didn't really give his team his all the time. There was times where he was a little, and yeah, he was, but he was playing on that quad for frick's sake. That quad was done.
Mm-hmm.
He had to move out of center field because he couldn't move. And you saw the guy hobble, man. Looked like he had one leg. It was ridiculous. And it's great that he's resting now, but that's playing hard. That's giving it your all. That's making sure that you're there. And even, you know what, you might be banged up. You're never going to be 100%. For me, it gives him a ton of respect. And those GMs, really, really stupid, idiotic. And I could do your job so much better if I was in your shoes. Because if I was, these guys, this is what these GMs must do. This is ridiculous. Okay, this is ridiculous. Top market free agent, $110 million by today's standards. That's a cheap deal.
That's very.
Give
very
me a break.
cheap.
You know what? I'm about to rip all of you GMs right now because this is ridiculous. You had 2015. He came out of the World Series. You saw what he did for the Mets, and you go, okay, maybe I understand, maybe, but boy, he signed for 3 years, $75 million. Guy who's gonna he hit like 35 home runs. He played really hard this year. You guys could have definitely got him on a multi-year deal for nowhere near what Hayward was. Maybe around this deal for 5 or 6 years. And I know, I didn't want to pay that. I didn't want to give the year commitment. Grow up, grow a pair. Seriously, bro. Let your balls drop for 1 second. 'Cause let me tell you something. You guys are so stupid. You could have got Cespedes on a bargain twice, and you balked. The only team that's exempt from this is, ironically, the Nationals. They're the only team that actually had the guts or actually had the brains. You want to know why they probably did? Because they saw him all the time. For frick's sake, what are you guys watching The Sopranos, getting drunk, and not looking at the TV this whole time? Just because you're a GM and you sit there during the year because your job's done, it's not the off season, doesn't mean you just slack off, all right? What you got to do, turn on the TV, turn on baseballreference.com. Do your research. Know your crap, man. This is inexcusable. You're getting paid millions of dollars to run a franchise, and what are you doing? You're slacking off, because if you weren't slacking off, you would have known that this was the guy to get, and you could have got him for cheap, and I'm glad you were too stupid to know, because you're going to regret it when it's in the playoffs, when we're in the NLCS, or when we're in the World Series, and he hits a bomb, and then, guess what? I'm going to look at you, and I'm going to call you a freaking dummy, because you're stupid, you're dumb, you're trash, you're a disgrace to the business. Look at me, I'm a fan, right? Naturally, I'm looking at players' stats. I know everybody's stats. I'm looking at it. I'm really in touch with it. And it just feels like these GMs are out of touch with reality. They're in another world. Give me a break. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And then they give it around Hayward. They gave Hayward that much money, but they didn't give Cespedes that much money. On terms of what the team looks for, it's just ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. I think the Mets got Cespedes on a steal, to be honest. $110 million. Honestly, I was afraid the Nationals were going to get Cespedes. I was afraid. 5 years, $100 million. No team was smart enough to offer him anything. That's security. That's something that's important to a baseball player in this day and age. And I don't blame them. And all those teams, all they heard, you know what they heard? Prima donna, yada, yada, yada. Give me a break, bro. How about you turn on the freaking TV? How about you go on Baseball Reference? How about you go look how the players reacted to him, how the fans reacted to him, and spend some damn money for your franchise, you loser. And that's why you don't have him. I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you're that ignorant. Because look at this guy. I'm sorry. He is my favorite Met right now. He literally is beating out David Wright. Honestly, it's like David Wright, Noah Syndergaard, and this guy. And literally, this guy has just turned into numero uno. The guy, literally, what he said, I'm losing my voice. I'm losing it right now because of how stupid. And I think it's disrespectful. I mean, bro, the guy put up numbers. You're not going to even give him the time of day. I mean, geez, man. Wouldn't even give him the multi a year. And by the way, if the Mets lost him after the 5th year, I would have ripped Sandy Alderson really hard. I'm so glad. And
but that's loyalty from Yo.
That's loyalty from Yo on Yo's part with the 5th year. We only got about 14 seconds left, and there's so much that has happened. But all I got to say is, man, the Mets robbed the offseason. They got the best hitter on the market for cheap. We'll be back, so stay tuned. More with Ace and Doug at Ace at the Plate.
Hi there, this is the original Lee Gunboats on the Eclectic Radio Theater. Thursday nights from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Tune in to hear everything from classical to jazz to rock and everything in between. Music from the 20s to the 2000s, focusing on a different theme every week. Except no substitutes. This is the original Lee Gunboats on the Eclectic Radio Theater. It's unlike anything you've ever heard before. Thursdays from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern right here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
A little stressed out these days? Calmly stop in for a free blood pressure screening at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, January 10th in the Port Washington Public Library. For more info, call 516-883-4400 or visit pwpl.org.
Healthcare is a right, not a privilege. See if you qualify for Family Low-Cost Health Insurance, Child Health Plus, or Medicaid Managed Care. Just go to the Westbury Memorial Public Library on any Tuesday at 2 p.m. For more info, call 516-644-9031 or visit westburylibrary.org. The Community Calendar is a public service from your friends at 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
You're listening to Ace at the Plate on WCWPSports.org.
So after that rant, after I lost it, because honestly, again, it's just a joke. It's a joke but I could go on forever on that. I just remembered, because we got all lost with this Nationals fiasco, but seriously, with the Red Sox, they ended up getting Chris Sale, and they beat the Nationals narrowly. Because the Nationals didn't want to give up whatever that guy's name with the J is.
Oh, wait, Lucas Giolito?
No, it was someone they didn't want to get. Was it Ross or something? They didn't want to give
Joe
up.
Ross? No, Joe Ross is good.
They didn't want to give him up, and the Red Sox offered the best prospect in the MLB, apparently. And it's crazy. They got a huge package. That rotation is now stacked. Looks like they're going to win the AL East for sure. I know that they won it last year. A lot of people wrote them in, but there was a time where they weren't looking so hot. Mm-hmm. So they look good, but here's something sort of weird. This guy, Yoan Makanda, whatever.
Yoan Makata.
Yeah, whatever he is. Listen, apparently he had like a $30 million signing bonus or something.
Yeah, because he was signed out of Cuba, so they did like an 8-year contract for like $30 million or so.
Crap for a prospect.
But
I've never heard of something.
Oh
like
no,
that
this
before.
prospect though, he's one of the best.
So
in the
here's
game.
the
He's
thing.
He's like one of the top 3 in all of baseball.
You know how there's usually trades where some teams will eat up salary, some teams will take on the salary, and that thing, because it's not an MLB thing, it's like a prospect type signing bonus. The Red Sox are obligated to pay that contract for as long as it is. So they're paying that. That's a big contract for just somebody who could be anything. No guarantees he's going to be big, and he's going to be in the big time. And for me, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem the Red Sox are going to pay for him to play in the White Sox organization for 8 years. That's crazy to me. That's a big contract. So I just feel like the White Sox got a steal. And I know that the Red Sox, I guess they wanted more pitching, but I feel like that was a steal. What do you think about that trade?
Well, the narrative surrounding every one of these trades is that prospects, they're unknown quantities. You can never know what's going to happen with them. They might not ever pan out, or they might become the next greatest thing. With Chris Sale, you know what you're getting. You get 2 years of control of one of the greatest pitchers in baseball right now, a guy who I'm surprised has not won a Cy Young yet. And to know that you have this proven commodity like Chris Sale, it's like, you know what, they're in full win now mode. And also they didn't give up like a couple other players that are elite in their system, because the Red Sox did have a pretty decent system. But Yohan Moncada, oh my God, this guy, his potential is through the roof. I'm talking about like 20 home runs, like maybe even like 40 steals, 45 steals. And, I mean, he did struggle a little bit in his small sample last year where he had 12 strikeouts and about 20 at-bats. But still, he's fresh, he's raw. And this one kid, every single scout has said that this guy is the next real thing. I mean, do I think that the Red Sox got fleeced a little bit? Perhaps. But if you get a World Series in the next 2 years,
point. Was their pitching that? I don't pay attention to them. Was their pitching that big of a deal?
Well, they have David Price, who
doesn't
in the
perform
postseason. In the postseason, he's got like a high 4-something ERA, even though he's a fantastic pitcher. Then you've got Rick Porcello, who just won the Cy Young. And then
was there a guy that was terrible?
No, I mean then they've got Eddie Rodriguez, who's like 23, 24 years old, who's a lefty as well, who's coming up into the system, who's pretty decent, not too bad. And then you've got oh my God, who's their knuckleball pitcher? It starts with a W. Why am I?
Oh my gosh, I know it's something White.
Right.
Right.
Tim
because of David Wright. That's why I know it. That's why I know it. By the way, that's seriously why I know it. But anyway, keep going.
That's fun. So like in that whole entire rotation, it wasn't like absolutely awful, but you can never get enough pitching. And to boost it up with someone like Chris Sale, it rounds off the whole entire rotation. Even though it's you're looking at 4 potential lefties in there for how the Green Monster plays. It's pretty decent.
I mean, it's for me. You know that. By the way, that signing, I don't know if it was a joke. I really love the Chris Sale trade for the Sox. It does make sense. More pitching, especially with David Price, who in the postseason turns into a different pitching. He turns into a different
Freudian slip, if you
literally. He turns into a different pitcher in the postseason. It just helps to have an extra guy, especially like Chris Sale. It's just proven track record, and it just seems like they're a lock now. They're a lock.
Yeah, they are 110% lock, especially with the Yankees fading away.
People were saying that last year that they were going to be a lock, and I know the Blue Jays sort of ran away with it for a good while, and then they caught up. So, but I think it's more of a lock. It's a lock. It's a lock. And by the way, the Blue Jays don't look as good this year. I mean,
no, not at all.
First of all, they don't have any of their 2 guys. I mean, I'm not saying that they're essential, but I mean, I don't see them. I think they're going to be in 3rd. They look that bad.
Yeah.
I think they look that bad. I really do. I think they look that trash. They have some good hitters. But then again, I mean, what is this? I don't know. They don't look good. In fact, they
lost some relievers that helped them down the stretch last year too.
I see it panning out with Red Sox, Yankees or Orioles, Jays, and Rays. Like the Rays are just, man, will they be relevant again? What was it, 2013, right?
Yeah. When they had Madden last.
That's it, right? But that was the last time they were relevant, right? I feel bad for that franchise in a way. I mean, listen, that franchise it's not a joke, but they don't draw a lot of people, and they just don't have success really. I don't think they've appeared in a World Series. No, I think they won.
No. I thought they
or they appeared and lost. But there are teams that haven't even appeared. I know the Rangers are one of them. I know the Padres might be one of them. But again, I sort of feel bad for that team. I know it's sort of off topic, but I sort of feel bad for that team. Like, what is that?
Oh, the Rays? No, I mean it's awful. Like their whole entire fan base there is the opposing team that comes in. That's their fans that come there. Like
it's
pathetic.
Sort of sad. It's sort of
and they're looking stadium,
to move.
like
they're
it
looking
sucks.
to move though, and they might move to Montreal. There's always rumors going, oh, they'll move to Montreal. And listen, that would be cool to have another Canadian team. I know that. Think about this, and I know that. The spring training, they drew like 70,000 people into Olympic Stadium, but it wasn't. It was just which is I think the old
Expo Stadium.
Old Expo Stadium is still up.
Yeah,
and they drew 70 million people to watch a spring training game, with the Blue Jays in it. So I just feel like that there's a market there again, more of a market. It could be stadium location, but I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up as
No,
a
that could be,
side
and it's
point.
also plausible because then if you want to make it that you can maintain an AL East type of team. If you go up to Montreal, you need to be on the East Coast. That or maybe go to Cuba. Who knows?
Yeah, well, they're also talking about Mexico being a place, which doesn't seem like a bad idea. I mean, it's pretty close to some of the other teams. They wouldn't be an AL team. I mean, they wouldn't be an East team anymore. But I'm just saying, those are just some factors to bring up. But
Well, it's fun to think about
it's
it,
fun to think about because there are, like we said, there are teams that just don't really compete. Like, I know this is sort of weird, but even though it's not true, I think of the Orioles as sort of that way. Like, they compete. They were in the playoffs in 2014. They had a sort of a one big moment, but I don't see them being, like, successful in the last few years. I mean, unless I'm wrong, like, haven't won a lot. I know they're
The Orioles? No, the Orioles. I mean, they've made the playoffs.
I know they made it. Last year they made it in 2014.
But it's like Adam Jones has dropped off in his production. Like
Yeah.
he was like McCutcheon, where he's supposed to be
what
5 to a
they do
player. It's
have-
just like he's still good. Don't get me wrong, but not like that
they
upper
have Manny
tier
Machado.
crust.
They have Manny Machado.
Machado is the greatest, and he's gonna be a free agent at the same time Harper is at 26 years
That's
old.
gonna be a class.
Which, sorry to get a little off topic, but just like Machado, yeah, he deserves $400 million over 10 years.
Yeah,
not freaking Bryce Harper, who
Bryce
just hit like
Harper, man.
240
and that's
something.
The thing. And like that's what we opened the show with this, and I completely agree that I don't think the Nationals should pay Bryce Harper that much. I don't think any team should pay Bryce Harper that much. I think it's too much money, and he's not good enough. And there are guys who are good enough that if they were to ask that money, it wouldn't even be like, wow, this guy is one of the greatest players, maybe of all time, in the past, 100 years or so. Mike Trout, right? One of the guys, you look at his numbers, and it's like, this is one of the greatest players in a long, long time. And this is a guy that, it's not like, oh, just Angels fans or someone we'll talk about many years from now. It wasn't like just like a team legend. This is just a legend.
Yeah.
This is a guy that every baseball fan will talk about years from now if he keeps putting up these numbers.
Oh no! Even still now,
it's
he will be talked. He's
incredible.
in the annals of history. I mean,
It's
even if he
incredible.
falls
I
off,
mean,
then it'll be even a bigger
looks
story.
like a
'cause-
Hall of Famer to me. I mean, depending on some terrible things that happen in his career, if they find steroids on him, he'll be done. But I mean, if he's good, then by the way, he could be on steroids. I mean, have you seen that neck? I mean,
the guy's yoked,
Yes.
yoked, and he's extremely fast too. So it's kind of like, wow, where's he getting this combination?
Yeah.
I haven't seen this since
Listen,
Barry Bonds. Wait,
yeah.
what?
Speaking about Barry Bonds, out of a job, I know we mentioned it a long time ago, but he's not going to be back because of the Giancarlo Stanton. I wonder if he ever comes back to baseball or what he's going to do. But listen, we'll see. And a few things that happened during the winter meetings that were, quote, I guess, notable. Travis d'Arnaud, there's news on him. He flew out to Arizona where that guy is, that third baseman coach is.
Oh, yeah.
Who is going, they did some drills. Whatever, man. I mean,
Hey, anything? I'm literally trying to do anything here. I'll try Chinese herbal
listen, at least
medicine
he's
to make sure this guy
trying.
gets it.
He flew out to Arizona. That's where this what's his name, Glenn Sherlock, our new third base coach. But also they hired him because he was a catcher, and that's what they need. And I heard Kevin Long met up with them. So look, he's trying to get back. I'll give him some credit where it's due. He's trying. We have, and by the way, we have a great backup, Rin Rivera. I'm so glad the Mets got that done. I don't even know if we talked about it on the show, but it's like $1 million. It's cheap. Seems like a great guy. Great arm to the second, which is something we need. So that's a steal. And one thing about the Rays, though, I know I'm jumping all over the place because this show is sort of not really organized. Sort of like everything slowed down after the winter meetings.
Yeah.
But I got to say this. Dude, the Rays were smart to get Ramos in a way where I know...
2 years, $12.5 million?
I know that he had the ACL. I know that's a devastating injury. I mean, look at Ryan Howard. It happened to him, and he was never the same. However, if he's the same guy, that's a steal. That is like highway robbery. If he turns into the same guy or he's semi-decent, that's a steal. That's less than Jay Bruce right there, baby.
Yeah,
I mean,
and over 2 years.
Yeah.
Over 2 years. I mean, 2 years, $12.5 million. Before the surgery, this guy was looking probably 5 to 6 years of $80 million.
We were talking about one of the big bats on the free agent market before this thing. He's going to be one of the guys where he's going to be top-notch catcher on the market. And a poorly timed injury basically turned him into the $6 million a year guy. I mean, and if he's healthy, if he gets it, he's probably going to DH. But he
needed a team where actually DH would actually be a lot easier.
It's his bat, though. It's his bat that needs to be that people want him.
No, that's true. Yeah, because his framing ability is like slightly average, maybe even like a little bit below average right now. But like his bat is, you're absolutely right. His bat is where the money and bread's at.
By the way, could I just mention something? It just sort of popped into my head, but the Nationals worse now. This season they're worse. I'll tell you why they're worse. Because they lost their reliever, McClennan. I know he was like only
Melanson, yeah.
Whatever it is. These guys, seriously, get a name. All right? So McClanson or whatever, he's gone. You have Ramos gone. I know he's not the same guy, but that bat is not in that lineup anymore. And he had a heck of a year. So I got to say they're worse. Plus to me, it seems like they are worse. Plus, nothing's guaranteed in baseball. Is Bryce Harper going to have another stinker year? Imagine if Murphy has imagine he calms down to earth. I mean, they won't be as good, let alone their pitching staff's going to be great. But I feel like their lineup, which was their strength, it's not weak, but it's definitely worse.
Oh, yeah, so, and you don't know. And Harper, you just don't know with his inconsistencies what you're going to be getting from there.
Just to put in perspective, Derek Norris, go look up his numbers, 200. 200 against everyone else. 400 against the Mets, but 200 against everyone else. Maybe it's a change of scenery. The guy, I don't know, he hit 270 one year, and that was it.
Yeah, so, he was pretty decent over the past couple of years with the Pods.
Doesn't seem like he's going to be Wilson Ramos.
No, dear God, no.
I think some people might have forgot just because he was injured, man. He had a heck of a year. He was going to make bank if he wasn't injured.
Yeah.
He was going to ink like a 5-year deal or something, 4-year deal, something like that. Big money.
The guy was on an all-star team this year. Come on.
The guy, and they're a little worse, especially with them not addressing the reliever situation. They seem like they got worse. Where the Mets, I think they're staying. They're sort of where they were at.
Yeah, they're
where
par
they're
for
at.
the course right now.
They were where they're at. Now, if they get a nice reliever, they trade Bruce for like a reliever or something, then I could say they got better because the biggest point of view, the biggest part about the Mets was they needed to stay the same by getting Cespedes because if they lost Cespedes, they wouldn't be the same. They would have gotten a ton worse because pitching's their strong suit, offense is not, and relief is not. So you have the starting pitching great. Are they going to be healthy? You have Matz with lingering injuries. Noah Syndergaard with bone spurs, not getting himself for no reason. You Matt Harvey, we don't know. He's coming back from this weird thing that no one gets, thoracic outlet, whatever it is. I can't even talk.
That's all right.
And then you got, who else do you got? You got Zach Wheeler. Who is that guy anymore?
He's thinking about becoming a reliever, like to help out a little bit and get his turns up.
But Sandy Alderson said that he doesn't feel comfortable with him throwing every day. That's the one thing.
Yeah, but there's a couple of names on the market still that the Mets can look at,
and
relatively
then DeGrom,
cheap options.
I think he was healthy. What happened to DeGrom? Why was he hurt this year? Was it his back?
No, he had to get like a little bit of surgery because like there's a nerve that every time like he would whip it would just give him like a funny bone type of experience.
So
he was pitching through that.
Listen, all the Mets, they're slated to come back. However, are they going to stay healthy? That is huge.
The key. That is the key
huge
for everything.
Because if they were healthy last year, they probably could have gotten further in the playoffs. Might have even won the division if that pitching set. Because even when Matt Harvey was pitching, he was awful.
He had like a 4.48 or some ERA.
Awful, terrible year. So, for me, I don't know. It just seems odd.
But over the next week, as we close out, I'm looking forward to see the Mets try to make some type of push to trade out Jay Bruce because I would rather have Granderson around just in case for center field.
Well, that's the thing.
Because he's serviceable there.
With Granderson, and the reason why, and listen, Bruce might have a great year if he ends up staying here. However, here's the thing. It's just that Granderson is just more likable. And that's not the only thing, but he is more likable. He's sort of been comfortable here. He's a leader in the clubhouse. But not only that, it's just that he could, from a baseball perspective strictly, it makes more sense to keep Granderson because he could play center. And he could play all the outfield positions. And he's willing to go anywhere in the lineup. He's just that type of player where he's useful all around the lineup. He's useful all around in the outfield. And with the Mets outfield, that's sort of what they need. So
But no, they also need relievers. So I'm looking forward to see if they can sign Brad Ziegler, the guy who was on the Red Sox before that, Diamondbacks for a while, funky delivery, or Travis Wood, because he can maybe be a long-time guy, or he can be a starting pitcher. But let's see what goes on.
We will speak to you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully things get done with the Mets. So thank you, and see you next week.
Walk in the Park, Jurassic Park. Enjoy the comical side of marriage with Dr. Ira Epstein through the humor of songs, movies, and stand-up comedy. Come down and laugh on Thursday, December 22nd at 2 p.m. in the Syosset Public Library. For more info, call 516-921-7161 or visit syossetlibrary.org. The community calendar is a public service from your friends at 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
Suddenly Solo, a lifestyle roadmap for the mature, widowed, or divorced man and woman. Join Hal Spielman and Mark Silbert Wednesdays at 10 a.m. for their unique takes on relationships, intimacy, finances, and much more.
Sleep apnea, it really affects your health.
And you snore like a lumberjack.
Maybe Jockey should be making sexy underwear for men. We are going to an interview with an interesting person who has been doing interesting things.
Suddenly Solo, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. only on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
I'm not sure I'm smart enough to answer that.
This is WCWP Sports Talk, Brookville, New York.